everyone. This is your host, Cobra number 1, and you are listening to the Barbershop here on COBRAsinaction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network, exposing racism, white supremacy for exactly what it is, so that you and your loved ones can navigate this nasty, stinking, wretched, disgusting system. The purpose of this podcast is to eliminate all confusion in regards to racism and what it is, so that those who are classified as Black are no longer confused. We broadcast weekly, Wednesday and Thursday, from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on COBRAsinaction.org, and we ask that you inform any Black person you think that may be remotely interested in counting racism of what we're doing. Spread the word. We find this show to be necessary because before a problem can be solved, it has to be identified and understood. And too many Black people do not understand racism. Visit us at COBRAsinaction.org, a website dedicated to countering racism and replacing it with justice. Because too many Black people remain confused about racism and what it is, we created this site. Not only do we articulate precisely what racism is, but we also give specifics on how to counter it. Click on the menu tab and listen to archives of the Barbershop. Read articles on racism and strategies and tactics on how to counter racism, and listen to the radio network, COBRA Radio, the most dangerous radio network in the world. Everything is counter racism. There ain't no Black men killing each other. Our women are respected. And we call white people out because all of them, every white person, your white wife, your white husband, your white best friend, your white pastor, your white supervisor, your white teacher, the one that's supposed to be so cool, the one that's going around doing the nay-nay with all the little nigger children, and then the video goes viral on YouTube, that white person, yeah, they're all racist. Every last one of them. And we don't have any problem reminding the confused Black people, yes, you, of this fact. Make sure you visit the site. And once you're on the site, please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and SoundCloud. We're always publishing content to all of our social media sites, articles, videos, and music, so please follow. We need your support. Running the website and radio station is not free and takes a lot of man hours. If you find what we're doing constructive in the least bit, we ask that you donate so that we can keep this effort going. We ask for $5 a month, but obviously whatever you can afford to give is much appreciated. Just click on the menu tab and click donations. Again, the work we put in is equivalent to any 9-to-5 office job, except our aim is not to profit with some product or service, but to help Black people solve our biggest problem: white supremacy. We have a new podcast on the radio network, Flex Talk, a podcast dedicated to improving the physical, mental, and spiritual health of Black people. Make sure you join us every Sunday from 10 to 12 midnight on COBRA Radio for Flex Talk. I will be doing a special Christmas broadcast at 11 o'clock a.m. on December 25th. I'm going to be discussing music and religion in the system of racism, white supremacy, followed by a 1-hour discussion on Facebook. The holiday is no excuse to take off from work that needs to be done, so I urge you to join me this Christmas beginning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This would have been the 11th podcast in the series titled Understanding Racism, White Supremacy, in which we aim to show how racism is present 24 hours, 7 days a week in all non-white people's lives. But there was quite a bit that happened since the last time I spoke to you, so I'm just going to be going over random news items and exposing, as best I can, the inherent racism that continues to plague Black people. Today I will be speaking on Beyonce, Joe McKnight, the ex-NFL player murdered by a white man, and I'm going to speak generally about the way we can solve our problem, white people. Let's take a quick station break, and when we come back, we're going to get into today's topic. You are listening to The Barbershop here on COBRAsInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. Before a problem can be solved, it must be understood. And too many Black people do not understand racism. Go to www.cobrasinaction.org today and learn more about racism and how we can solve this problem. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Cobra number 1, RG Reed, and you are listening to The Barbershop here on COBRAsInAction.org. So I first want to talk about propaganda, and I am going to use Beyonce as the vehicle in which to bring my point home about propaganda, to drive home to you the point about propaganda and why propaganda is so important. Beyonce is the most nominated artist in Grammy history. Why has she been awarded so many times? She's been nominated 62 times, I believe. This is a problem. Here's why. Beyonce's images, the total collective imagery of Beyonce is one of a person that is some kind of a sex object. This is not her doing, by the way, but this is just her perpetuating what white people already think of Black women anyway. You were brought to this country to work, and you were also brought to this country to be mistreated. I keep telling you all, go back and look at pro-slavery literature. White people tell you everything about how they think of you. Nothing has changed. Black women were thought to not have souls, which meant that they could be mistreated. This is how you can have Christian people who call themselves Christian, to mistreat Black people the way they do, the way they have, and the way they continue to do today. Black women were raped, black children were raped, black men were raped by white people. And they could justify all this because as a black person, you were a nigga, you were non-human. And these are Christians. You know, there were a group of slaves that came over here on a ship called Jesus. Good little Christians. Black people are so quick to worship with white people and to believe white people. I keep telling you all about refinement. These crackers are lying. They are lying. They are deceiving in the interest to maintain their dominance over you. But black people are so quick to hold hands with white people, to worship with these crackers. Oh yeah, good little Christians, good little wasps. Such religious little wasps. You go into their stinking churches and you hear the little organ playing. Oh, it sounds so nice because these people, they're so refined. These people are of God. And black people are so stupid, we fall for it. Black people are using religion as a means to continue to be cowards, period. And it makes me sick. There is nothing godly about not doing anything about being mistreated. God has given you the abilities to think. Black people are intelligent. There's no lack of intelligence amongst black people. But black people are choosing to remain stupid and ignorant and to not collectively solve our problems. And this is an insult to the concept of God, God has given all of us freedom. And we sit here and we don't do nothing about it when our oppressors continue to take it away from us. This is sick. There ain't nothing to be proud about when it comes to black people and religion. As a matter of fact, there ain't nothing to be proud about black culture because it's trashy. It's a culture of people doing nothing but lying, not being honest, dancing, celebrating. Why are you celebrating? You don't have anything to celebrate for. Until you solve your problem, you don't need to celebrate. It makes me sick. People are celebrating Beyonce. She was nominated 62 times. So what? So what? And now, she's going to be Black History Month, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to be celebrating Beyonce. Oh, well, yeah, she was nominated 62 times for the Grammys and she won some 20 plus times. Oh, wasn't she great? She performed for a whole lot of white people. Wasn't she great? Well, boo-hoo. I don't give a shit how many white people she has performed for. There ain't nothing great about performing in front of your oppressors. Same thing with athletes. Oh, he was the first person to integrate baseball. Oh, he was the first person to do this, the first person to do that. The first person to be accepted by crackers. Why are you so proud of that? Where's your self-respect? Why do you want to be accepted by these crackers? These wasps? They don't like you. More importantly, they are in the business of mistreating you. Why do you want to align yourself with these people? It is because you are a coward and you have no self-respect for yourself. And it makes me sick. And no one is saying anything about it. Well, guess what? I am. Now, Beyonce, if she had any kind of self-respect for herself, she would dismiss herself from her career for about a year. about a year's worth of time. Her and that husband of hers, Jay-Z, also victim of racism, white supremacy. They both would dismiss themselves from the public. They would take time to learn about their problem. White people. Beyonce would take her ass to the library and she would pick up Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's The ISIS Paper. And she would not just read, study, learn about possibly why white people are acting the way they act, and understand how, as a Beyonce, victim of racism, white supremacy, as a victim, how she is contributing to the problem. You see, Beyonce gets paid a whole lot of money to perpetuate the ideas which are already in the minds of white people. White people think of you as savages. They think of you as animals. They think of you as people that are to be mistreated. They think this stuff, and then their speech and their action, their behavior towards you is influenced by their thoughts. So what I am saying is that Beyonce and that husband, Jay-Z, they would take their asses out of the public. They would learn about racism, white supremacy. They got the means to do so. Then they would come back and they would act and they would behave and use their influence in a way within the context of an understanding of the system in which they work, and within an understanding that white people is the problem. Stop aligning yourselves with white people. Why are you aligning yourself with white people? Black people are so stupid. Now, we've been here for 500 years. This problem of racism could have been, it can be solved just like that, with the snap of a finger. It's not going to be solved by white people. White people are not interested in ending their dominance over you. How many years is it going to take for you to realize this? Black pastors aligning themselves with white people. Anytime there's some type of tragedy, we got to go to the church, and we got to listen to this passive sermon that this nigga preacher is going to give about, how you're going to be rewarded in heaven. Be thankful for this. Be thankful. You ain't got no problems. You don't have any real problems. God is going to take care of your problems. Get the hell out of here with that crap. And you people, like stupid fools, are putting money into these nigga preachers and their nigga churches. Churches ain't doing nothing. And you sitting there, you dancing, you hollering, screaming, and nodding to this nonsense. Don't just wait, just be good little nigger children, wait your turn, and you'll be rewarded in heaven. You've already been given your reward. You've been given the reward of life. You're here. No one is going to come down and solve your problem. We're just going to wait for some magical mythic figure to appear from the sky, and he's going to come down and solve all of our problems. Guess what, folks? It ain't going to happen. How about you doing something to solve your problem? Stop being such a nigga. Stop being so damn inferior. Stop being so damn scared. It's disgusting. Dylan Storm Roof, the animal that went into the church and shot up 9 black people. The next day, black people were up here singing songs forgiving this animal. And I believe now this animal is going to defend himself. Well, what do you think of that? This man is proud of what he did. So what you say, black people, about that? Are you gonna do some more dancing? Are you gonna get some holy water? All he needs is just some holy water. Just sprinkle a little holy water on him. That'll fix him up. He don't know what he's doing. He's just misguided. But see, black people, we're the people of God. We're the people of forgiving. Who told you that? black people are the people are forgiving, and also black people are the people that collectively are getting their asses whooped by this system, racism, white supremacy. You getting smacked around, you getting kicked, punched, spit on, shot, and all you can hold on to is that on Sunday you do the best dancing in some church house somewhere. You do the best singing. You do the best pleading, begging. White people, please stop mistreating us. You know, black people get rewarded for articulating their problems because white people like to hear. They like accounts of how they mistreating you. They like accounts of how they whooping your ass. That's a part of the satisfaction. You get married. Oh my God, Mary J. Blige singing to Master Hillary Clinton. America and your American skin. Shut the hell up. That was embarrassing. Who put Mary J. Blige up to do it? Oh my God. Hey, let me ask you, who put Mary J. Blige up to doing that? Oh, that was so disgusting. That was disgusting. And Hillary Clinton looking at Mary J. Blige, looking at me, just loathing, just looking at her like, what is this nigga talking about? Don't she understand? I know you niggas are getting shot in the street. I know that. I was part of the reason why this is happening the way it is, fool. I was the one that referred to your children as super predators, as not being human, not having human emotion, not having human sympathy. That was me, nigga. So why are you singing this song and wasting my time? That's exactly how Hillary Clinton, Master Hillary Clinton, was looking at Mary J. Blige. And Mary J. Blige singing her little heart out. Mary J. Blige, victim of racism, white supremacy. She received a lot of heat for what she did. And I want to encourage black people, stop doing that. Stop criticizing black people. Stop making fun of black people, because black people are victims of all of you, all of us, your host included, by the way. Victims of racism, white supremacy. All black people are stupid. We have not been able to solve this problem as of yet. I am stupid. I am still learning. I've been a nigga in the system of racism, white supremacy, and I am trying to correct myself. You need to look in the mirror and you need to correct yourself as well. White people are not going to fix your problem. White people are only here to control. You just look at the history of white people. Look at the history of Europeans. What have they done? What has been the consistent theme? What has been the common thread amongst these crackers? Crackers control. That's what you need to understand. Crackers are controlling Beyonce, and Jay-Z, all of them. You all look at Beyonce and you say, oh man, she's worth $500 million. Jay-Z is worth $700 million, however much they're worth. And you think they think they're bosses. They are not bosses. They are serving the interest of racism, white supremacy. They are perpetuating images that justifies white people's thought, which in turn influences white people's speech, action, behavior towards you. They mistreat you because they don't think anything of you. And until black people understand this, we will forever be confused. Beyonce's imagery only perpetuates what white people believe of black women anyway. You see, which is that black women are nothing but sex objects. If you go to, well, not now, but up until like yesterday, you were able to go to Google and type in sexy white mom, and then type in sexy black mom, and just see flat out the point that I'm illustrating, that you as a black woman are nothing but a sex object. Up until yesterday, I believe, had you typed in sexy white mom on Google, what would have come up in the images would have been single white women, presumably, many of them with a child, illustrating that they're mothers, wearing clothes. Some of them, a few of them, were posing in a sexual kind of way. You had some women, some celebrity moms, I should say, that came up and that still come up when you type in sexy white mom on Google. Now, up until about yesterday, when you typed in sexy black mom, nothing but pornographic images. I'm not that there were 10% pornographic images and the rest were respectful. No, all of the images were pornographic images of black women when you typed in sexy black mom. Bringing my point home to you that white people think of black women as sex objects, period. You are not respected. And also 2 points. The second point is white people are refined. They go to great lengths in hiding whenever they can what they think of you. That's why, white people are not honest with you. So don't ever expect a white person to admit that they are a racist. That's not gonna happen more than likely. In my experiences with white people, several white people have told me that that white people, not themselves, but that white people do not really respect black people. Okay, I have experienced this several times. All right. But most of the time, white people are refined. Google going out of its way to correct that problem, okay, is an act of refinement. Because black people were starting to question, why the hell is there such a difference when I type in sexy white mom as opposed to typing in sexy black mom? What is the term refinement? Refinement is the act of deceiving in order to do what? In order to maintain dominance. And what I'm saying to you is that white people, in this instance, Google, go to great lengths to hide any evidence of their thought, speech, and action being geared towards mistreating you. Why is this? I said it before, I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it until you understand. White people have realized that in 2016, it's easier. How can I say this? The path with the least amount of resistance is the path to take in maintaining dominance. It's easier to dominate, and not only is it easier, it's preferable to dominate a people with the least amount of opposition possible. That's the point of refinement. So yes, Google will go out of its way to take down images associated with the term sexy black mom. And I've just given you the explanation as to why, because they are acting refined. It's embarrassing. That's why so many white people were embarrassed of Donald Trump. However, those same people that were embarrassed of Donald Trump. I'll repeat it over and over again. For 10 years, Hitler and his Nazi party and Joseph Goebbels, he was the Nazi propaganda minister. They used movie houses, they used television, they used radio to just constantly just show images, provide narratives of Jews being nothing but just roaches, animals, anything other than human. These people were non-human. These people were vermin. That these people were nothing but vermin. These people were nothing more than just bugs that you could take your boot and you could crush, smash until all the guts spill out. And after a while, obviously, German citizens bought into it. So much so that once the German authorities started to come around and round up the Jews, no one really said anything. No one objected. That, folks, is the power of propaganda. And so now you look at what happened to Joe McKnight, ex-NFL football player. Why are white people not morally conflicted about the killing of Joe McKnight? Again, we turn to propaganda. Now we're going to go back further. We're going to leave Nazi propaganda. We're going to leave the Nazi period, and we're going to travel back further because it starts in the Bible. The Bible, when you look at the story of Ham, it talks about how black people are to be mistreated, how the descendants of Ham are to be mistreated for what Ham has done in the story in the Bible. White people have used that story in the Bible as justification to mistreat black people. When you look at the start of the enslavement of black people, there are documents with white people giving their justification as to why they're enslaving black people. It's because in the Bible, black people are those people that are to be enslaved for the crimes of Ham. Propaganda, folks. When you look at 17th and 18th century European literature on the issues of race, and let me just reiterate that race is a social construct that was developed by white people. That is neither here nor there now. It's here it's here to stay. But scientifically, there are no races amongst human beings. Human beings are human beings. People are people. But white people were the ones that came up with a social construct of race. Why? To control. That being said, what does the literature, the classic European literature in 17th and 18th century Europe, what does it say about black people in regards to race? Black people are inferior. Black people don't have souls. Black people don't feel. Black people are not human. What does your own Constitution say? Black people are what? What is it? Three-fourths of a person? Is that what it is? The United States Constitution in the 18th century says black people are to be counted as 3/5 a person. Where does that come from? That comes from European literature, 17th, 18th century. European literature comes from white people's thinking about black people, influenced by propaganda. The propaganda continues the thinking. The propaganda perpetuates the thinking. This is the importance of propaganda. This is what black people need to understand. So when I get on Beyonce, it's not because I like her music or I dislike her music. I don't care anything about her music. I don't care if you like her or if you don't like her. That's not the point. I'm talking about propaganda. She is perpetuating images of black people as being less than, and she doesn't even know it. And more important than that, the imagery that she and her husband are perpetuating keeps black people dumb, and it keeps black people confused. Black people should not be looking up to feminists. Feminism is not your issue. I see a whole bunch of dumb, stupid feminists running around, talking, running their mouths. They do not understand racism, white supremacy. Your problem as a black person is white people. All that feminism, those are white people's problems. You need to leave them alone because white people are not your friends. Period. White people do not like black people. And this is seen very clearly by the collective action of white people. So stop aligning yourselves with white people. 500 years we've been here. And if white people really wanted to solve the problem of racism, white supremacy, they could have solved it just like that, with the snap of a finger. They do not, because white people are in the business of dominating. And I'm getting sick and tired of black people not seeing the obvious. But yet, you want to sing and you want to dance. You know, I just saw a documentary on Cuba last night. And the whole time, they were doing nothing but dancing. Sure, the people in Cuba, a lot of black people in Cuba, by the way, a lot of Africans in Cuba. Sure, Cubans are suffering. And you know, Fidel Castro just passed away, so there's a lot of Western commentary on Cuba, on Fidel Castro. The West hates Fidel Castro because he stood up to racism, white supremacy. He said, not on this island. And a lot of those white Cubans you see in Miami, that's just what they are. They're just white. Their mistreatment was stopped, was halted. They were booted from the island. They sought refuge here in the racist United States of America. They were welcomed here. And it makes them sick that this man were able to stop them and their mistreatment of people of color in Cuba. They hate that. And so they're out there on the streets celebrating in Miami, jumping up and down. Celebrating for what? Why are you celebrating? How did the Batista regime treat black people in Cuba? How did the Batista regime treat people of color in Cuba? At the expense of who did these white Cubans that are in Miami, did their ancestors rule over Cuba? At the expense of who? That's what you have to look at. And see, so looking at this documentary, you know, the point was made very clear that you have a lot of black people in Cuba, number one. And number two, that there's not enough money in Cuba. Everyone is struggling in Cuba. And the West likes to point their finger at Fidel Castro. But what I'm telling you is no, it is not Fidel Castro. You are living in a global system of racism, white supremacy. White people are exclusive by nature. They exclude amongst themselves. They divide themselves up. They don't have any problems with a majority of people barely living on the margins of existence, scraping and struggling to get by while few have everything. This has been the pattern of white people persistently throughout history. I don't care what economic system you look up. Feudalism, mercantilism, capitalism, communism, it does not matter. White people are in the business of control, even amongst themselves. And only the very few control, and everyone else is exploited at the wishes of the very few. And for whatever means the very few want to exploit you for. Cuba is operating within a global system in which this dynamic exists everywhere. There is a limited amount of money in the global economy. And conveniently, guess who has control of most of the financial resources? White people. So Cuba will continue to struggle. And then you had all these victims on the documentary talking in such poetic terms as to what their dreams are for Cuba and how they wish Cuba would be and how they want Cuba's future to go, and all this nonsense, talking in metaphors. People need to be clear as to what they're articulating, because these metaphors are confusing, and accuracy in describing your problem is key, because the problem has to be diagnosed correctly, and we all have to understand the diagnosis so that we all can collectively do something about it. The problem is white people, folks, plain and simple. It's their world, it's their systems. And Cuba is trying to operate within the context of white economic systems. Basically just capitalism, really. But capitalism is all about acquiring private property so you can have resources to produce. How the hell are you going to acquire something if you ain't got no money? And guess what? White people nearly took everything. So it's not rocket science as to why white people control most of the means to production. Cuba ain't got no money. Cubans ain't got no money because Cubans ain't producing shit. But how the hell are you going to produce if you ain't got the means to pay for all the resources that you need to produce? Money is limited in supply, and that's done purposely. It's meant to keep the few on top and dominating over everyone else. And in 2016, the few are white people, and you're living in their system. It's the system of racism, white supremacy. I'll stop there. You're listening to The Barbershop right here on COBRAsInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. Be back. Before a problem can be solved, it must be understood. And too many black people do not understand racism. Go to www.COBRAsInAction.org today and learn more about racism and how we can solve this problem. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Cobra number one, and you are listening to The Barbershop here on COBRAsInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. I've been talking about propaganda. I want to end very quickly on the subject of counter-racism, because too many black people, too many people in general, because you have these crackers that also are pretending as if they want to solve your problem. but they are not really trying to solve your problem. They are participating in refinement, and they're making decent salaries doing so. Any white person that's making a salary pretending to try and solve your problem is not really trying to solve your problem at all. They are just exploiting you and your problem for a payday. Do not trust white people. Now, I want to talk about how to solve this problem, because too many black people and too many people in general do not talk about specifics on how to solve the problem. Everybody addresses symptoms of the problem, but nobody points out the problem, which is white people. That's why, again, do not trust white people to solve your problems, because ultimately they would have to undermine themselves. They're not going to do that. They haven't done it in 500 years. I don't know why the hell you think that in 2016, all of a sudden, white people are just going to miraculously wake up and see just how they've been mistreating you. Oh no, you're not a nigger. You're human just like me. Here, take some of my income from the work that I do, because you and I are equal. I understand I'm getting paid more than you because I'm white, but I don't want to be white. I don't want to mistreat. I don't want to make more money than you. I don't want the benefits of being white. I don't want this stuff. Just take it away. Take it away. Take 15% of my paycheck. Hell, take 20% of my paycheck. I'm not doing any more work than you. And obviously, you need it because your people have been systematically left out for 500 plus years. Your people have not been able to build wealth with which to send your children to college to better themselves and have a better shot at better paying jobs. So yes, I understand this. I understand my role in it as an individual. So here, take a percentage of my check, and I encourage all white people to do the same. You're not going to get that. That would go a long way in solving our problem. May not completely solve the problem, but it would go a long way in helping a lot of black people. Black people are paid the lowest because you are black. You are a nigger, which means that you ain't worth nothing. White people do not value you. You were brought here to work. You were a slave, and to white people, you still are a slave. I talked about propaganda and how white people use propaganda to support their mistreatment of you. You have to understand how white people think. And that's why I encourage not just Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I encourage all of you. Pick up Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Papers. Pick up Dr. Anai's book, Urugu. Understand how white people think. That will go a long way in solving your problem. Dr. John Henry Clark said something along the lines of, you don't ask for that which was taken from you, you take it back. Let me say it again. You don't ask to have that which was taken from you. You just take it back. You don't beg, plead, or cry to oppressors in order to get that, which you are entitled to by God. Freedom. Black people every Sunday going to church on their hands and knees, begging crackers. Black people, after that animal, Dylan Storm Roof, went into that church and shot up 9 black people, singing, articulating their problem in front of crackers. And white people love it. White people love it. They love to see examples of their mistreatment, and you sitting here like a fool, articulating so beautifully, oh, how much you're mistreating me. Just stop. Please stop. You don't understand. But please stop. You're hurting me. And you think that's gonna help. You coward. Get off your hands and knees and quit being a coward. It makes me sick. It's disgusting. And you need to understand white people don't care. How you gonna solve your problem? It starts with that idea from Dr. John Henrik Clarke. You don't ask for that which has been taken from you. You just take it back. Stop asking white people, oh, can we march here to demonstrate this? Oh, can we march there to demonstrate this? Oh, can you pass this legislation to provide for my child, which my income doesn't sufficiently provide for because I'm black and I don't really get paid that much? Can you pass this law that will provide some kind of relief for me and my family? Can you please? Can you pass some kind of legislation that will make it a little easier for my nigger child to get into college so that he or she will have a better shot at earning some kind of a decent income once they get out and into the working world? Can you? Will you? Please? No. Stop that. You don't ask for anything, you take it. There are means to which you can take things to get what you need. The great revolutionary Che Guevara, he said that all peaceful means must be exhausted before violent revolution is used. And my point is that all peaceful means have not been exhausted because black people are politically stupid. And black people have operated within this context of thinking that, white people really want to help and that, white people are decent people. They just don't know what they're doing. And if we can just get more white people to understand how they're mistreating us, they will stop. That ain't working. So now what you have to do is stop asking and start doing. Here are a few things you can do right now to start to counter racism. And I don't believe in talking like this too much because we're living in a system of racism, white supremacy. White people are, if there's ever a time in which a lot of black people are truly trying to solve their problem, white people are going to provide resistance. You better believe it. I don't believe in revealing one's playbook. So I'm not going to sit here and get into specifics on how to counter racism. This is not the platform for that. However, these are some things that you can do right now. Doesn't take no capital, doesn't take any kind of massive, great effort to do what I'm about to suggest to counter racism. Number one, you can improve your health, improve your diet, exercise. Black people should run 2 miles 3 times a week. Run 2 miles 3 times a week. It's time to get in shape. The best way you can have self-respect for yourself is by taking care of yourself. This exhibits the most self-respect that one can have for his or herself, is taking time to engage in practices that will prolong your life as long as possible. This is the greatest act of self-respect. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of your soul. Leave that shit alone. Leave the alcohol alone. Leave the weed alone. You ain't got time to celebrate. You ain't got time to be high. You need to be focusing on living as long as possible and living as much as possible a quality life. And because you are black, because you are oppressed, because you are within this system, there will be just by default, there will be a certain amount of stress placed on you as a black person. You need to do everything you can to not feed that stress at all. and smoking weed, smoking marijuana, alcohol. It's a thin line, folks. I'm telling you, it's a thin line between doing these things socially and getting trapped and using these things, using alcohol, using marijuana as a way to escape your troubles. So I suggest leave it alone. I do not believe in revealing one's playbook. Counter-racism, undermining white people, undermining white power, is not just a radio show. This is a course. This is a series of books. One would have to write in articulating the method on how to undermine white people. And this is not something you want to do in a public forum like this, because if what I'm saying is correct, that is that we're living in a system of racism, white supremacy, white people are going to try and undermine you. And do not think that they would not be able to or not be willing to use your playbook against you. Duh. You don't reveal war plans to the people that you are engaging in war with. So let's use our common sense when we're talking about specifically about counter-racism. Assume that white people are listening and that white people are not on your side and that they are going to act in their interest, which inherently goes against what your interests are as a black person. What is your interest as a black person? Your interest is to counter racism, which means white people, in the interest, in exchange for justice. What is justice? Justice is ensuring that no one is mistreated and that those that need the most help receives the most constructive help first. That is justice. White people, as a collectively, have shown themselves to be counter this idea. White people, their whole culture is about mistreating other people, including amongst themselves. Because you have to realize that before white people started to aim their mistreatment at African people, at people of color, amongst themselves, they mistreated each other. Read about European history, particularly during the medieval times, during the so-called Dark Ages. Read about how the Irish were mistreated. These are white people. But Europeans, white people, it's ingrained in their culture. These people mistreat and these people control. There is no working constructively with white people. All right, that's the end of the show. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it constructive. Please visit cobrasinaction.org and learn more about the concepts that I'm bringing to you in these shows. Look up refinement, look up the origins of race. We have some great articles on the website that explains racism, that explains white people, because like I said, if you do not understand your problem, you are not going to solve your problem. Also, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Instagram. Just go to the social media section at the bottom of our website on cobrasinaction.org and click any of the icons, and it will take you to any of the social media sites that you click on. Last but not least, folks, please donate. This is a very time-intensive, financially intensive endeavor. But articulating racism so that we can counter it is the most important thing any of us can do. So please support this effort. Remember, catch the show every Wednesday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. here on the Black Talk Radio Network and cobrasinaction.org. And archives of the show are available on www.cobrasinaction.org. This is RG Reed signing off. Until next time, peace.
Joining conference now.